Hello everyone. My name is David Seonbaek. I'm from APO. APO is an Asian productivity organization with 21 member countries in Asia Pacific. APO recently has launched a new video series called Productivity Talk, how VR and AR technology can open up business opportunities for entrepreneurs and SMEs post-COVID-19. So today we'd like to talk about this, and let's see what is happening in Asia at the moment due to COVID-19, and try to foresee any good business opportunities after COVID-19. So I would like to understand how VR and AR technology can reshape the business that we know now, and how COVID-19 is re-impacting this technology. To understand this topic, we have a special guest, Dillon Seo from Korea, who can provide some insights on this issue. Dillon was co-founding member of one of the most famous VR companies, Oculus, acquired by Facebook in 2014. Now he's the country manager of a Deutsche Telekom Capital Partners, DTCP, with 1.7 billion US dollars of asset under management. Thank you for taking your precious time to be with us to share your insights on this AR, VR industry. Can you briefly share your work experience at Oculus?
Sure, David. First of all, I would like to thank you for having me here. And I'm super excited to share what I know and my personal opinion on this topic we're covering today. Oculus was a very small VR startup founded in 2012. The company headquarters was based in Irvine, California, and we introduced world's first consumer-ready virtual reality headset called Oculus Rift in 2016. The company was acquired by Facebook in 2014 for approximately 2.3 billion US dollars. During my Oculus years, I was responsible for 3 roles: content sourcing, component sourcing, and manufacturing partnership. As Oculus was a PC-based peripheral, we needed talented PC game developers. And Korea was just the right fit at the time because Korean game market was all PC focused. Also, Oculus needed a good supply of high quality displays, as it is one of the most important components in all VR headsets. And Korea has the best display companies in the world, such as Samsung Display and LG Display. Lastly, we needed a hardware manufacturing partnership, as our founders in the company were mostly software-based talents. In order to deliver high-quality consumer products, we were looking for a high-quality manufacturing partner. And Korea has Samsung Electronics and LG Electronics. So Korea was strategically important for Oculus in the beginning, and I have been chosen for these 3 purposes.
But you left Oculus shortly after Facebook acquired the company, right? And set up your own VR content startup called Full Air Creative. So it sounds like Oculus is really good company, and hey, it was acquired by Facebook. And then if I were you, I would just stay with them. Oh my God, it's this great brand name like Facebook, Oculus.
Well, that's a good question. Actually, a lot of people ask the same question to me. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with Oculus and Facebook. Though those are great companies to work with. I love the team, and I love the energy over there. But after Facebook acquired Oculus, I believe that content will be the next biggest thing. I mean, hardware alone cannot deliver consumer values because consumers will only want the hardware if there's something to play with or something that they can consume. So I wanted to create some interesting VR content that would add value to the company I co-founded.
So what VR content were you trying to make when you were with your own company, Full Air?
Well, originally, I was thinking of creating a digital human using VR. I was a big fan of a movie called Her. Maybe you heard of that movie before, but the movie was released in 2013. And it is about a man who falls in love with an AI-based operating system called Samantha. The movie showed a scene where Samantha wanted to satisfy the main protagonist's desire to feel the physical presence of herself, as voice-only AI didn't give him the full satisfaction of the companionship. I figured it would be interesting to create sense of physical presence through VR when voice-only AI technology is advancing very quickly.
So did you manage to make it happen? So how did it go?
Actually, miserably failed. The visualization of a female character was not a difficult part, but creating a compelling AI interactive experience was not very easy. Also, VR headsets consumer market penetration was very low. So continuing development and making it profitable was very challenging. I pivoted the company to create VR games, but that did not go well either because the VR consumer market was too small.
Sorry to hear that, Dylan. What was the biggest challenge in the VR consumer market? Because it sounds interesting, but at the same time, it's also true that, I don't know, I mean, around me, I don't see many people actually enjoying the VR and AR.
I believe there were three challenges why VR market did not grow as fast as the industry hoped for. First is the price. Second is lack of content. And third is lack of public interest. So when the first consumer-ready VR headsets were released in the market, which was in early 2016, the device price was ranged from anywhere like from $599 to $799. That's all USD. On top of the VR headset price, it also required a very, very expensive and high-performing PC to play the content. The price of the recommended PC setup was well over $1,000 US dollars. It was more like 1,500 to 2,000 US dollars. So the total purchase price for good VR experience was anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 US dollars. This was way too expensive for most of the target audience, which was people aged between 15 and 30. Another challenge was the lack of compelling content. Even though Oculus started to sell their first version of Oculus Dev Kit in 2013, the content developers only started to have an access to the consumer-ready concept version a year after its Dev Kit 1. Because Oculus released the Dev Kit 2 in 2014, which became the actual foundation of their consumer version called Oculus Rift. This only allowed the developers to test and build VR content for only 2 years because the commercial version of Oculus Rift was released in 2016. As the device offered a very new experience, even for the developers, creating a compelling VR experience that would just work for most of consumers was not easy. This is very true for any new device coming out in the market today. For example, when the video games were just 2D images where the game characters were just moving left to right or top to bottom, 3D graphic technology was difficult for the game developers to master because it forced to create a different user experience. When Nintendo released its first commercial successful home gaming console named NES in 1983, games were created with moving sprite images. When Sony's PlayStation 1 was released in 1994, we started to see more and more compelling 3D graphic-based games coming out to the market. Some of the most commercially successful games on PlayStation 1 were Tomb Raiders and Tekken. It showed how 3D graphics can be used to create more compelling and immersive video game experience. If you look at the latest video games that we see in the market today, most of the top games are made in 3D graphics. This shows that there exists some learning curve for the content developers to fully understand what new experience the device can offer. And to define the compelling content design for that device, it just takes a long time. And VR was no different. The final challenge, and I think this is the most challenging part for the VR industry, was to increase the public awareness of the device and the content. I mean, in today's digital content world, we all experience them through 2D displays, like TVs, PC monitors, laptop screen, tablet screens, and smartphone screens. In other words, we're all used to seeing the content through a small size window. So all advertisement and marketing materials on digital content were designed to duplicate the same user experience, and we, as customers, can fully understand what we can expect. VR, however, is very different. There's no device other than VR headset to show the true VR user experience. The small 2D screens that we have in our home, office, or hands can't duplicate the same user experience. So conventional advertisement and marketing methods can't translate the experience you get from the VR. This makes it extremely difficult to convince the consumers to make the purchase decision.
That sounds a little bit depressing. It almost sounds like you have no future of the VR. So let's say that what you're saying is true. Then why do we have to go for, or even consider going into the industry of VR and AR?
I guess, my tone was too pessimistic, but well, actually, solutions to these challenges are coming. I mean, in 2019, so Oculus introduced a new VR headset called Oculus Quest. This is a standalone device where you do not need to connect it to an expensive PC to enjoy the VR content. It just offers an out-of-box experience, and the price is much cheaper than its predecessor. You only now need to pay as little as $399 to enjoy the VR experience. This is significantly cheaper than $2,000 you used to pay to set up your VR environment. Also, content developers start to understand what content design they need in order to create compelling user experience. Games like Beat Saber has done some very good job capturing the VR audience with over 20 million US dollars in revenue in its first year release. At the end of last year, Facebook acquired Beat Games, the company responsible for Beat Saber, and this is not the end of it. They plan to acquire more VR studios in the future. We are starting to see more positive signs for VR AR industry. Due to the social distancing movement after the outbreak of COVID-19, many companies and institutions are looking into investing in VR AR technology. VR is now being tested as a tool to create virtual classroom in Korea. XR Class is the name of this tool, and it allows the professors and students to gather in virtual classroom to teach and learn. Ford is using VR to teach their technicians to develop their vehicles at home. Automakers normally build a clay model to see the scale of the vehicle they are developing. Building a clay model of a vehicle is essential because 3D models in the computer monitor can't replace the power of it in real world, taking up actual space. Unfortunately, COVID-19 pandemic has put a half of non-essential work and gatherings like standing around a sculpture. So the next best thing is going for full VR. Some of the big corporations are trying to see if AR can be the next virtual meeting tool. A company named Spatial, which is an American company, is now working with companies like Facebook and Deutsche Telekom to see if it can provide the virtual meeting tool for the company as COVID-19 is forcing their employees to work from home. Before COVID-19, VR AR technology was considered as an interesting technology that can be utilized in the near future, but it is now being considered as a technology that needs to be utilized now. So SK Telecom, the largest telco in Korea, claims that the usage of their VR tour content has increased by 41.7% in March compared to its usage in January. LG Uplus, another telco in Korea, claims that usage of their smart home training has been doubled since January, and the usage of their U+ AR content has been increased by 71%. COVID-19 is not only forcing the enterprise to adapt VR AR technology, but the household is becoming more and more interested in using VR and AR. The beauty of using VR is that you have the full control of time and space. It's because when you're wearing your VR headset, you feel like you're teleported into a new time zone and new space zone. The market right now is not still big enough to make profits, but I think what I'm trying to say is that COVID-19 is actually will drive more adoption of the technology. So South Korea, what was one of the first countries in the world to deploy 5G network service. But it is inevitable that 5G network will be available throughout the world soon. And VR AR technology will definitely benefit from the development of 5G network. Will this interest in VR AR tech is going to be a short-term fad? I don't think so. The world is uncertain about how long COVID-19 pandemic will last. So therefore, it will only force the enterprise to evolve and adapt a new tech to minimize their productivity problem caused by COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
New normal will kick in and will become standard practice very quickly. VR AR has a great potential to accelerate this new normal business activities. I believe this will open up new opportunities that we have never had before.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting ideas that never had a market before will flourish.
Mm-hmm.
VR AR is a tech where it will break the limitation of time and space, as I said before. Small and medium-sized enterprises should think about how this control of time and space concept can solve the existing productivity and cost efficiency problem. Some of the examples I have mentioned in my previous explanations, such as XR Class, Ford, and Spatial, are all using this control of time and space, which is a strong feature of VR AR, to solve the productivity and cost efficiency problem. COVID-19 is just accelerating the adoption rate of AR VR tech. However, we currently have no major players in this field. Well, of course, we already have major players in device manufacturing platforms, such as Facebook or Steam and HTC, but we have no major players in the concepts I just have mentioned. This is a free game for everybody, and I encourage the small and medium enterprises to explore these areas. The concept is simple. Identifying where the productivity and cost efficiency problems caused by the inability to control time and space. Then think about how VR AR tech can solve these problems. Then I think you will have the winning business ideas.
Then now, since the COVID-19 starts spreading and everybody went digital, and as you know, that also Zoom and Skype and Teams of Microsoft, all those so-called cyberspace or virtual meeting apps or software actually became really hot. And then everybody nowadays actually, like you and I doing now, everybody is uploading this kind of online Zoom video meet conference in the YouTube and share their ideas. That'd be great. But then it just got me thinking that I think it's already good enough because I can talk to you, you can talk to me. And then I just wonder how the VR or AR technology can add more value to this, because I'm already satisfied with this just, Zoom and Skype and Teams. Maybe I'm not ambitious enough. So what will be the big difference between VR and AR technology and or it's like this kind of virtual meeting?
In my opinion, video conference has a limitation. If the information is only shared through voices, like what we're doing right now, that is fine.
Yes.
But if you look at the example I provided, Ford, who needs to stand around this clay model and share individuals' opinion, and just by looking around the actual clay model, that's not possible with the teleconferencing. There's also concept of time and space involved, because when you need to gather together to look at certain objects together, teleconferencing can't do that. For example, if I say, I want to look at the cell phone I have right now all together, right? You can only see them in 2D space, and I have to rotate them around and show what it is. But in virtual reality, this can be as a real 3D object that you would see in a normal situation. That also can help with in terms of productivity and also cost efficiency. I mean, right now you're in Japan right now, I'm in Korea, right? And Zoom is solving this time and space issue a little bit, but if you expand the work scope beyond just exchange information through your voice, I think VR has much greater potential than the simple video conferencing.
So now, we talked about the VR and AR, and now you're actually the country manager of Deutsche Telekom Capital Partners Korea. When you see this current situation, let's say as an investor, then what do you see?
So the supply of main components for the finished good is also being affected. So these factors are not getting the essential components on time. So they're forced to stop operating. As COVID-19 situation is getting worse in North America and Europe, the impact is becoming bigger and bigger. Due to the fear of virus infection, countries are shutting their gates down, so people can't enter from outside. And the companies who have invested in these countries are not able to operate properly because of the shutdown of the gates. This is creating a lot of uncertainties in the global economy and investment, and forcing the companies to come up with countermeasures.
So what kind of countermeasures can we think about?
So companies will begin to localize their production line and start implementing more technology within their factories to replace the labor cost. They will invest more on automations and better efficiency. Let me give you a couple of quick examples. Well, I'm not here to talk about politics, so I hope there's no misunderstanding about my explanation. This is just an example that anything can happen unexpectedly, and that any companies can be caught off guard. So you better be prepared. I can share 3 examples how companies are handling their unexpected crisis and how their new countermeasures could permanently change the business landscape. One example is what happened to Huawei. As you're all fully aware of, now Huawei's flagship phones, like Mate 30 series or P40 series, don't support Google services. Because of this problem, Huawei's smartphone business has been hit hard as well. Some people have been able to sideload the Google Play Store onto the phones, but not all Google apps are accessible through sideloading. There's no way to download third-party apps directly from Google Store anymore. Now, Huawei is trying to localize their own operating system and app store and its developers' ecosystem, but it still remains to be seen whether it is really going to pan out or not. I believe this example is particularly important to all Android-based phone manufacturers because it gave a signal to them that this can happen to anyone. If the situation is not only limited to Huawei, then there's possibility that the phone manufacturers may come together as an alliance to create a license-free operating system that everybody can use. Samsung has been investing the use of Tizen, which is open source operating system for the smartphones, for a while. Although the launch of Tizen-based smartphones weren't commercially successful in the past, this Huawei situation may alert them to look at this opportunity again. If companies like Huawei and Samsung start accelerating their effort to become more independent from Android, the smartphone ecosystem that we know of today may change drastically. The example is not caused by COVID-19 directly, but it is just a good example of how we should be prepared for any unforeseeable business situation. One concrete example to prove my point is the situation happened in Korea last summer. In August 2019, Korea received a message from the country who was exporting 3 essential chemicals for their semiconductor and display screen manufacturing. And they will not make the exporting process as easy as possible. The world expected that Korea will have difficult time to find alternatives as this country has the global dominance of those materials. And as a result, South Korean tech manufacturers could fail to meet production deadlines. However, this prediction did not come true because South Korea diversified the importing source and also developed these chemicals on their own very quickly and turned this crisis into opportunity. I consider this as a particularly important example because this is a proof that companies are making strong effort to fix the problem when the system is broken. When the system works fine, effort to make changes is minimal. However, when system doesn't work anymore, then the effort to make changes will accelerate. COVID-19 is proving that the system that we rely on is not working well when this kind of pandemic situation happens globally. Hence, countermeasures will start appear quicker than expected. Another example is more directly to COVID-19. I'm not going to name the country here because my intention is just to share a cautionary tale. Korea has been investing in Asia Pacific region for a couple of decades now. Recently, Korea has been investing in this Asian country a lot. According to the country's government's Ministry of Planning and Investment, Korea has been investing in that country since 1988. And the total amount of investment until 2019, it was approximately $67.7 billion US dollars. So among 135 country investors, it is the largest amount, and it is about, I think, 18.7% of the total global investment that this country was receiving. So Samsung Electronics alone takes approximately 30% of the country's GDP at the moment. According to World Bank, the total GDP of the country for 2019 was about 255 billion US dollars. So Samsung is taking approximately 77 billion US dollars. However, the COVID-19 has changed the situation drastically between Korea and that country. Due to COVID-19, all the international gates been shut down, like I said before, and this country was no exception. This shutdown caused the Korean company professionals to fail to enter the country and operate. This unexpected situation may alert companies like Samsung and LG and Hyundai, those big manufacturing powerhouses, and see it as a potential threat that cannot be controlled in the future. If so, they may start investing in smart factory technology sooner and faster than expected, and start decreasing their investment in their country. If this happens, and this is purely a theoretical thing, but I'm not saying this will happen, but if this happens, then that country will lose its biggest investor and see 30% drop in their GDP in the long run. To be fair about my prediction, though, it's just not saying it's a fairy tale. That country government has already reported that amount of foreign direct and indirect investment for Q1 this year has been dropped by 20.9% year over year. Korea, which ranked number 1 last year, has been placed number 4 this year. Of course, as I said, this is just a scenario that I foresee personally and does not reflect the actual opinion of the actual companies. The point, however, is that COVID-19 may drive the high-tech manufacturing companies to invest in smart factory technology more and more, and take this as an opportunity to minimize this kind of pandemic situation in the future. This may not be a good sign for many Asian countries seeking for global investment to develop their local economy, and have to start thinking about alternatives.
I know that because of the COVID-19, all the countries actually shut down their borders, and then people couldn't travel to all those countries that they used to do all the trading together. But there's no actually guarantee that it's not going to happen again. According to Bill Gates, it's not going to be the last pandemic anyway.
So what these 3 examples I just mentioned are foreshadowing is that the companies will come up with countermeasures to prevent the result caused by this kind of pandemic situation. They will not make the same mistakes twice. The companies are learning about the influences of COVID-19 and how they are hurting the current economic situations. So they're forced to come up with solutions faster if COVID-19 situation does not get any better in first half of this year. And when they find the solution may not turn back to where it was before COVID-19. Instead, new normal will take place, and we may face new business dynamics. Companies will learn how to operate with a less amount of office spaces, supply chain will be more domesticated, and production line will be more automated. Dependency on foreign labor force will drop, and knowledge transfer with other countries will be limited because the foreign investment amount will be decreased. In other words, ODM and OEM requests may drop with the adoption of smart factory technologies. All these statements are just predictions and may not come true very quickly, but I believe they're not impossible either. COVID-19 can be a trigger to accelerate this change. So the Asian countries who have been receiving foreign investment to develop their domestic economic growth should start looking at elsewhere for their economic growth. For policymakers, they should start investing in education more to raise more skilled workers locally. Also, start making more startup-friendly policies where startups can test various business models and services. Startups will create more jobs and contribute to the domestic economic growth. Creating an investor-friendly environment can also make the country more attractive to foreign venture capitals because it will allow them to create more earning potentials. For startups, understanding global tech trend will be very important, in my opinion, because it will help them to understand how to scale up their business to a more global level. Take a look at some of the most successful startups in particular country and see if there's the same business opportunity for the local market before the benchmark startups go global. For big enterprises, they should set up some VC funds to invest in interesting startups or acquire them to expand their core competencies. I mean, US is a great example because Google has its own VC fund, Facebook has its own fund to invest, Microsoft always invest in interesting companies, and they all acquire, to expand their core competencies. And I think that can also be translated in Southeast Asia countries as well. The fund will allow the local startups to grow, and these startups may offer the opportunities that the big enterprise were never able to open up.
The economic downturn and recession is actually coming. And some people even jokingly say that we might die of COVID-19 or because of the economic recession. So even though it's also true that many SMEs and startups are actually going out of business, still we would like to see that there is a silver lining as an investor and also as an entrepreneur. What kind of business opportunities for the future? Now, let's say that they are suffering already and they really have to do let's say the pivot. Then which way do they have to go from here? Now we are talking about going digital, and then also this COVID-19 will transform the way we do business will change forever. And then still there are many companies and entrepreneurs feel lost. Maybe just when this pandemic ends, maybe we just go back to normal. Then maybe some people say that who is leading our company's digital transformation? Number one, CEO. Number two, CTO. Number three, COVID-19. Of course, the answer is COVID-19. But there's also a possibility that if everything goes back to normal, then maybe we just go back to the previous life, like less digital. Oh my God, finally this situation ends. Oh, I really wanted to take a fresh air. And also I wanted to see my friends face to face, not through the Zoom or Skype and all these messengers. Isn't it conceivable? But from your perspective?
Here's the thing.
Yes.
If you look at our industrial revolution, right? And we're talking about this fourth IR.
Yeah.
Every time we have industrial revolution taking place, the two biggest questions they want to solve are productivity question and the cost efficiency question. So we can define our first and second and third industrial revolution by defining what technology and what energy source have increased the productivity and the cost efficiency. So this pandemic situation, as I said, will force these companies to come out with different solutions to increase the productivity and cost efficiency. So if what we were doing in the past were doing a much better job in increasing productivity and reducing the cost of production, then we may have a chance to go back. But I don't think that's going to happen. The companies will be utilizing their findings through this COVID-19 and start understand that this could be a much more efficient way to produce their finished goods or reduce the amount of money or time they spend for the production. As I said, if the system is not broken, they will go back, but they understand this was broken. And this pandemic situation is not only one-time thing, but it could be happening in the next 10 years or 20 years, who knows, right? So companies will learn the lessons, will start preparing for this new pandemic situation that we may experience maybe in 5 to 10 years. And then we'll continue to refine the new normal they have found, and we'll probably get it out and then make it more stable in my opinion.
On one side, as you know, there are many companies actually going out of business. On the other side, actually, some companies, especially IT companies, actually rising up so dramatically. It just indicates that it's not really depressing necessarily. On the one side, maybe, but on the other side, no.
It's not going to be easy for SMEs to continue what they were focusing before. Like I said, the demand for ODM and OEM may decrease over time because the companies will start localizing their own supply chain and manufacturing pipeline, and they will have less dependency on foreign investment and so on. Most of global giants who are trying to enter into Korean market have failed because Korean local companies have done a far better job. For example, like Amazon is taking the world by storm, but Amazon has a very little presence in Korea because we have a similar model called Coupang. Coupang has done a far better job than Amazon in terms of penetrating the market because they understand the market much better than what Amazon does. Also, we have antivirus program called AnLab.
AnLab.
Right. So AnLab has far more market penetration than some of the top antivirus programs out there because they understand the local market far better. If we look at Gojek, they have done a far better job than Uber penetrating the Southeast Asian market because they understand the market better. They have decided to utilize motorcycles that Uber has never able to penetrate. So my idea is that look at the what global startups are doing in certain fields, and then see where they are failing to penetrate, and then utilize the same business model, and then reshape it so that it fits into the local market better, and then launch the business. So I think that particular strategy can work fairly well. For the manufacturing components, I think that's something that we have to really think about, because if we continue to invest our manufacturing as we are right now, like as a Southeast Asian SME, I don't think there's a big shot to that particular area, unless Asian countries can come out with better productivity and better cost-saving technology. It just takes a lot more time to engineer these technologies, and you need to have a strong foundation of the core technology to move forward to that. Unless we have that stage ready, I don't think it's going to be easy for Southeast Asian countries to compete against already well-developed technology companies. And because to prove my point, I'm going to talk about the automotive engines. The reason it's very difficult for even Chinese companies to compete against German or some of the top European brands is because they do not have enough time to accumulate all the right technology that's involved to create very fine-tuned engine yet. My recommendation would be exploring the ICT-based services and applications that could really work well within your own infrastructure by studying the global tech trend.
Now I know that you really have to go for VR and AR technology, and also because we might have another pandemic in the future. Really hope not, but we never know. So there's no guarantee that doesn't happen again. So I think based upon all this pandemic situation and also the many business transformation, I feel like I know better about the future and what we have to prepare. So really appreciate your time, and then I hope that we can have you again next time.
It was very exciting to share some of my opinion, and we'd love to come back for our next session when there's a chance. Thank you very much.